And we'll call this meeting to order. Shauna, roll call.
Kristen Bailey,
Here.
Nick Atwood,
Here.
Steve Byers,
Here.
Jose Jaquez,
Here.
Christopher Boyce,
Here.
Mark Charvat,
Here.
Vante Bynum, Maria Bella Rodriguez.
All right, and now for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next portion will be public comment. Shauna, do we have any public comments? Having no public comments, we'll move on to board correspondence. Do we have any board correspondence?
Sure, I got a couple things. I wanted to ask the board and the district if the next time that we come around to the retirement from our last board meeting, I think we should try and kick it up a little bit, maybe like cater some food or something, because I feel like it just needed a little bit more to show a little bit more appreciation for our retirees. So if that's something we could think about, guys, maybe, get some El Jimador tacos in there or something, So that is something I wanted to ask. I did go to the honors night at DHS, it was really good. Shout out to the crew, they were swamped with like a million things going on, but they were handling it professionally. And HMS has their 8th grade, I forget what the term, promotion, is that the term I'm looking for, promotion tomorrow, and I will be there as well. And that's all for me.
Had a chance to attend the Beyond One Barb Transition Center graduation last week. It was a good turnout, great to meet the staff over there and our new graduates, so great to see everybody. Thanks to everybody who came out.
I had a chance to go to DHS for the badminton state finals in the opening ceremony last Friday. I also got the tour of the high school from Dr. Larson, and it was incredible. It's the first time I really got to go through the entire facility and looking at our career technical facilities. It is, you can do anything in that building. It is an incredible place, and I'm really excited for our students to have that. I also want to shout out to Peter Goff and Mark Sykes. They gave me a tour of the athletic facilities and just seeing all the work that goes into the opening ceremony and hosting that event, and it went very smoothly. It was a really great way to showcase the district and the city at the same time. So just want to make sure I gave them a shout out because I was blown away by how great it was.
All right, hearing nothing else, we don't have any student board correspondence, so we'll just move on to a quick recognition. Our MERS department, our business department, for another year running has been given the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting just because they do such a phenomenal job at making sure that we are a financially solvent and well-run district. So I just want to thank our mayor and his entire department for all the amazing work that they do. And then, moving into the consent agenda, before we go into it, we do have an item on there. Oh, you're following my pen, yes. So one of the items on there, well, this is a different thing that I'm talking about.
Okay.
This is, one of the rewards is listed as Burlington Store partnering with Adopt a Classroom. That was actually from last board meeting. What it actually is for this board meeting is the Kelly Williamson family and Exxon Mobil are supporting Malta Elementary School. So we just as a board need to know that's what we're accepting, not the Burlington issue again. And then first what we'll do, JJ, is we'll make the motion, get a second, and then you'll make the motion to, okay. So, at this point in time, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items 3B through 3L. Board minutes from 5/5/26, personnel action items, purchase order requisitions, financial reports, accounts payable for May, payroll for April, approval of the salary increase for unaffiliated staff 2026-2027, employment contract, Cortland Elementary Assistant Principal, employment contract, Dean at Huntley Middle School, acceptance of gifts and donations from the Kelly Williamson family and Exxon Mobil. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Chris, I'd like to make a motion to remove one item from the consent agenda.
All right, and which item
That
is
is
that?
the employment contract for the dean at Huntley Middle School, please.
All right, do we have a second on Mark's motion?
Well, I can remove it for a separate.
Oh,
I don't need a second.
you're right, all right. And is there anything else we would like to remove from the consent agenda?
Yes, I would like to remove item H, the approval of salary increases for unaffiliated staff.
All right, in that case, now that we've had those two items removed at this point in time, do I have a new motion to approve the items on the consent agenda with the Dean at Huntley Middle School and the staff raises for unaffiliated removed at this point?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Shauna, roll call.
Nick Atwood,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Jose Jaquez,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce,
Yes.
Mark Charvat,
Yes.
Bante Bynum is not present, Kristen Bailey.
Yes.
All right, now we'll move on to the two removed items. The first one will be the approval of salary increase for unaffiliated staff 2026, 2027. First, we'll have a motion and a second, and then we'll have discussion on the item. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion on the motion on the floor?
Yes, I would actually like to convert, I guess would be the term, that item into a standard agenda item to where we get information and then a vote. So the information would be on the second, next meeting, give them time and opportunity to present something to us. And then us, our opportunity to digest that information and then vote on it on the 16th. The only question I have, and he's not here. Oh, I'm here. Your head right into the screen, I didn't see. If we vote to approve the raises on the 16th, is there going to be an issue making sure that the pay is right in July?
So it might be a question
Deetra.
for
That's
Deetra,
what
but
Deetra
it's, I'm assuming it's regarding sending the contract.
So annual increases are for the fiscal year, that of course starts July 1st for us, so there will be time. If we do the two meetings, it will be the June 2nd meeting and then,
June 16th.
thank you, I couldn't remember the next one, June 16th. That'll be a tight window, but we'll do what we have to do.
Okay. So I guess,
So I don't think that we would necessarily have a motion. I think what we would then at this point do is seek consensus to have that as an agenda item on the June 2nd board meeting.
an
Basically a
information.
postponement of the item till the next meeting. right? For first.
But we'd have to ask to have an information, and that would be to you guys to, what we need to talk about what we're looking for.
Right.
So I would, even though I went through the process a few years ago of like this getting my raise approved, I didn't understand how it worked. So I'd love to understand like what the raises are based on, what tools are used to figure out all the different raises.
Is there anything that the board wants me to explain this evening?
Well, I did have a question, because I looked back to what we did 24-25, where the raises were based on CPI as it pertains to the budget, and this year they were generally 5% or 6%. So just some background on how we got to the figures that we got to compared to how we did it years ago, so.
Are we in order to do that at this point?
If you are prepared to answer that, I guess I will
Right,
jump
right, I
in
didn't
very
know-
quickly for admin, just to say that it was actually the board before you guys came on that gave our administrative team kind of the directive when we switched from one-year contracts to multi-year contracts. We wanted to start to see that, I guess, I don't know if I wanna say goals, what it would be, but essentially we wanted to see their evaluations and are they doing things kind of what we were looking for tied into raises?
And tied
So-
into performance?
Yes, performance is the word I was looking for. Where we kind of said the reason everyone kind of just got a flat raise the first year is we're like, well, we just rolled this out. We can't sandbag everyone in the district with a, well, you didn't know this is what your raise was based on. And then this year, why you see a discrepancy between administrators is it was based on their evaluations. So that's at least why you see some people here, some people, yeah.
And I just want to clarify, it's not just administrators, it's unaffiliated staff.
Right.
Yep. So yes, there are So 6%, we have a retirement track. Those that have provided us a notice that they are retiring from the district up to 4 years. In that period of time, they get a 6% increase, which is allowed by TRS and both IMRF without a financial penalty. So that has been the past practice. That is the practice. When you're in the retirement track, you get a 6% increase. The other increases you see, they're either 5%, they're 2.9%, or may see no increase. The 5%, because we are basing it on performance, the board made the recommendation that we look at what the outcomes of the evaluation are and then base it on that. So for those that got a excellent or a high rating, they got a 5% increase. Anyone who got a proficient or meets expectations, they received a 2.9%, which is CPI. Anyone who did not meet the mark, they did not get an increase. We did not have individuals that did not meet the mark, so you won't see any of those zeros out there. We do have some in the other two categories. And to reiterate what Chris said, we actually annually, we had contracts that came out every year or employment letters. Everybody got CPI, and that's when it was recommended by the board that we should be looking at performance so that people are earning their increase. So we came up with a proposal, brought that back to the board, and the board accepted that it will be based on the outcomes of the evaluation and then how those percentages fell. So that's where the 5% came from, and then the 2.9, which is CPI, whatever that may be on any given year, and then no increase for anyone who did not excel in their evaluations.
I have a quick question about CPI. Is that generally just, oh, no, I know what CPI is. Is it standard that that's not tied to performance at all?
So in the past practice has been that the increase is CPI. So we have a document called the Unaffiliated Benefit Summary that we bring to the board annually, that gets approved, and at that point, it determines what the increase is. Standard, it has been CPI. So CPI has just been the base period for any and everyone. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Historically, like you're always getting a cost of living adjustment essentially.
Correct.
No matter.
Yep.
how you perform.
Well, and it's not really cost of living.
It's right, cause
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
So the CPI that we use, so in this case would have been 2.9, it has to do with what we use for the tax levy.
Yeah.
So that's why it was always tied to it, because it gave us an understanding of using whatever the growth we would have had at the tax levy for the next school year's salaries. So, yeah, so even though, like, let's say right now, the monthly CPI is 3.9, we really take into account what the state gives us for the tax levy CPI.
And in previous years, it's been that the increase would be CPI up to a maximum of 5%. So even if CPI magically ended up being 6.4, we would not exceed that 5%. This year, it happens to be 2.9, so that's how we established that scale of 5% for those that had the high evaluations, and then CPI, what it actually is in a given year for those with proficient evaluations.
So there's no one getting like 4%. It's your 2.9 or 5.
It's 0, 2.9, or 5, and we had no zeros
This year.
this year.
And who is the last board established the CPI or 5?
Correct. It was in the conversations during this same time of year when we brought forward the increases.
So is there, I'm trying to find in here, maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, where it says what each employee's.
So we have that data and happy to share that out. I believe the board does have it for the purpose of protecting our staff. We did not disclose that because this is a public document. So we did not want individuals to be able to assess what the outcome of the evaluation was.
No, not necessarily that.
Okay?
I guess you would by what percentage you get. I'm
Well,
just
Yeah, the
you
percentage or the
could look at
dollar
last
amount.
year's amount and this year's amount and then calculate the difference. It's a matter of mathematics.
That it
You
absolutely
can see if it's
is,
5%
but
or 2.9, because salaries are public. So you can look at last year's salary and this year's salary.
that is absolutely correct. But in trying to support our staff members, we felt that was the best way to present it. But we're happy to provide whatever we need to. The board has been provided the details. If you didn't get it, just let us know, we can reshare that information.
I also think it's just important to throw out there right now because we have a very large group of unaffiliated staff looking at us right now. Nobody at this table is planning to say you're not getting a raise.
Right.
We have a board that has 4 new members. They just haven't gone through an unaffiliated staff raise yet. They're just seeking to understand the process a little more before we approve stuff. So just want you all to know and have your minds at ease with that.
Thank you. From the human resource aspect, thank you for stating that.
Just trying to understand, thank you.
So I guess I think if we got that information that you were just saying, if you could resend it, because
Sure.
I lost it. That's-
Okay.
You know, the dog ate my homework, I don't know, but I can't find it.
We have detention for that, don't worry about it.
Then if we could get consensus to move it to the second, that'd be great.
All right
So
then.
I just want to clarify,
Yes.
the next board meeting for action
That's
or
what
for information?
Kristen
Or
just
do you
asked.
consider this as information?
So I guess here's my question for all of you. If they get us the information this week and we can kind of digest that information, do you guys feel comfortable coming back to the June 2nd board meeting info action for that item so that we can move on it quicker and they're not spending half their summer worrying about what we're doing with their salaries?
I'm okay with that as long as we get the information, so.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Is that doable for you guys?
That
You
we will,
get 2 more weeks then, so.
we will make it work.
All right then. So at this point, it sounds like we have consensus from the board for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right then, having that consensus, I think there's still a motion, so we have to, no, there wasn't a motion on this one yet.
No, you did move and we did second and then.
Okay, then Shauna, we do have to do a roll call just to, I guess, kill it, and then it'll come back next meeting, so, Shauna, roll call.
Postpone it is the word.
Postpone it.
But the motion is.
Motion to postpone till.
So we could do a motion to,
So I guess now, yes, you do a
Table it
motion
for
to
you.
postpone, someone
Yeah.
second it, and then we'll all vote yes
There we
on
go.
it.
Yeah.
Move.
I move to table this agenda item until next meeting, June 2nd.
For
For
clarification, you
action.
motion to postpone it to the next meeting.
Postpone.
June
Yes.
All right.
The motion.
Shauna, roll call.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
JJ.
Yes.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes.
Mark Charvat.
Yes.
Ante Bynum. Kristen Bailey.
Yes.
Nick Atwood.
Yes.
All right. Now on to the next one, which is the Deanette Huntley Middle School. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second?
Do we have discussion?
Basically, I'm just going to abstain on this is the only reason why I pulled this, because this was part of the many contracts that, or the new hires that the board approved that I wasn't necessarily in favor. The employee itself, I'm okay with. I'm just saying, since I voted no on that, I feel I should abstain on this, so.
All right, hearing from no one else. Shauna, roll call.
Jose Jaquez.
Yes.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes.
Mark Charvat.
Abstain.
Ante Bynum. Kristen Bailey.
Yes.
Nick Atwood.
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
Alrighty then. On to presentations. And while I love hearing from everyone in the district about how things are going, we also want to be home and in bed maybe before 9 o'clock tonight. So,
Right. Home and in bed, right.
that's the expectations. Alright, so first one will be from Amir, and that's the presentation of fiscal year 26-27, the tentative budget.
All right, thank you. This is the time of the year that we start to talk about budgets. It's pretty heavy in terms of budget season. So we started as early as December with the tax levy adoption, and then we moved into the budget calendar in January. Then in March, we also had, we went back to adopt the tax levy adjustments. So we've been busy. we've been talking to our school to our building leaders, to our department leaders. We've been talking about the budget, what they have planned for next year, and what they're looking for. So we're gonna go through a little bit on the timeline. We're very early in the process. There's a lot of numbers out there. It will be difficult to call this a final number because from today all the way to September 15 that we're expecting to actually adopt the final budget, things might change. So this is our timeline. So we're providing a very high level, what looks like the budget as of right now. This is what, in general, what we're thinking, we're looking, but we're gonna work on the final numbers. We have some work to do. And there's a lot of moving pieces, not just at the local level, but also the state and federal level. So normally, we would come in August 4th, we bring in the tentative budget that it will be ready for public inspection. We give about 30 days, and then we actually come in on September 15 or the second board meeting in September. We have the budget, we have a public hearing, and when we put a adoption vote. At that point, the budget is adopted, we send it to the state, we send it to the ROE, the county, and it is formalized. So understand that budgets are planning, so it is just a roadmap for us. It will allow us to kind of stay within the limits, but at this time, there's a few pieces that we wanna kind of talk about. So where do our revenues come from? So I have here a small kind of chart showing what the local sources, property taxes and others. So that's the local property tax is about 51%, and then we also have the state. On the second part of the chart, I kind of broke it down a little bit, so it gives a kind of an idea. Just a few years ago, we were seeing that the piece of pie chart for the local property tax to kind of shrink, right? But now we're kind of seeing that grow back. We're at 51%. That's because the state is not chipping in as we thought. They're doing a lot of proration. And in there, I kind of showed something that we call the MCATs, or the mandated categoricals. So I took apart that piece of pie there so that you guys can take a look. Every year, that number is gonna keep kind of getting smaller because we're seeing the state trying to prorate that down or to kind of eliminate what those mandated categoricals are. I'm gonna talk a little bit more detail in a further slide there, but understand that that number is kind of shrinking, which is forcing the local property taxes or the local sources to kind of chip in and make that kind of jump into fill in the reimbursements. So the local sources.
Well, if you're gonna redefine, I'll wait.
Yes, I will read, yeah, there's a kind of a slide down to kind of talk a little bit more about it. But yeah, so local sources, we're looking at about 89.4 million. That includes our property taxes, corporate personal property tax. Student fees and donations, they're kind of a smaller portion of it, and really because our low income, our free and reduced status students actually have waived student fees, that number of the portion of sources coming from the student fees is kind of on the smaller side. But then there are the state sources. We always talk about EBF. That is the biggest, the largest portion of it. It is about 57 million out of 63 that we get from the state. But anything past that 57 million is actually something that we call mandated categorical. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. In the federal sources, everyone thinks, when they think about federal sources, they automatically think of title grants. So I kind of had a way of showing that, yes, title grants are big, they're important. We do use a lot for activities for it, but that's about 2%. The other federal sources of revenue are actually our food, our National School Lunch Program, and other grants such as IDEA, Medicaid, and so forth. So you can see in total, 6% that we get out of the federal, only 2% either are title grants. So,
There's the question.
sure.
Are we still getting ESSER money?
We are not, no, we're not getting
Okay.
that. No, I know this might be a little bit on the older side. Okay, so I don't know if this is not working on the next slide.
Do you want a mirror?
Broke it. One job.
All right, cool. So with the revenue considerations, like we mentioned, under our local sources, we have the local property taxes. So from last year, that went up about 6.5%. And CPPRT, that's the corporate personal property tax replacement. That's is the state collecting money for corporations, businesses in the area, and then flowing that back to the district. This is expected to increase about 2% from last year. We always look at that. You'll see school districts talk about it because that shows economic activity that will happen in the area. So if the state considers a 2% increase, that's usually a good indication for us. So we're always going to show that. It is about 1.9 million, so it's not like the largest chunk for local funds. However, it is that indicative. It's kind of important.
Quick question about the local property taxes, 6.7%. Is this based on, we don't know what the collections are for this year because people are currently paying their taxes, but I know pretty much everybody's tax bills, at least in DeKalb, went up about 10% or so. So I'm trying to figure out how we came up with 6.7%
Yeah.
when everybody's paying about 10% more.
So I think the 10% has to do with the tax bill that the property owners get. The 6.7 is our property revenue, local property taxes revenue. So if you take away the what we had last time, 62 million, and this year we're gonna get 67. When you take the difference, it will be 6.7%. I can give you the calculations. So
Yeah,
again, it's what we
that number just kind
collect.
of didn't jive with me, so.
Sure, sure. We do receive about 99% of that
Yeah.
collection because DeKalb property owners pay it on time or they pay through escrow. So collection-wise, we actually get what we asked back in March. So investment rates, that is a big part. We do go through investments for our reserves. So that is something that we always look into. Last year was about 4%. It's been going down 3.5, and then just this Friday, investors started to get a little bit worried. They're risking. They feel like the economy is not shaking up as they were thinking, so it's becoming a little bit more risky. So they started asking for higher yields. So just last Friday, that number went up to 3.65 to 3.7. So, but in my projections, that's still at 3.5 back when we were doing the budgets. When it comes to state funds, that's something, Springfield has not finalized their budgets, so then we're very early, it's still May. We try to adopt our budget as close to the real numbers that are coming in. So right now it's early. Springfield will adopt their budget by the end of May. However, we're seeing kind of the districts and ISB pushing different kind of funding than what the state is showing. So right now ISB is asking for about 350 million EBF and include a property tax relief grant, while the state is only showing about 307 with no property tax relief grants. So again, there's a little bit of differences on what funding they require. There's also something that is coming to our lens is the mandated categoricals. Again, I will have another slide for it, but something we can, that we're gonna see from the message that we're getting from Springfield, end of May. So EBF tier funding, that information comes in August as well. So, but we know we have been in tier 3 last year. We don't know if we're gonna move down to a tier 2 or we're actually gonna go deeper into tier 3. But again, in our estimation, we are expecting either very, very small increase or none at all. Transportation funding, this is part of the mandated categoricals. We already know there may be a prorated down, which means a loss of revenue for us. For federal funds, we do have some information on title grants. They are lower than last year, but we still don't know about Medicaid because it's something that the federal government has been talking about cutting. And we are also monitoring the National School Lunch Program, which was in discussion last year of having some cuts on it as well. And we're also monitoring any other federal grants out there. Again, with the federal calendar, their fiscal year starts in October, so that's why we get those numbers very late too. So I would expect everything when it comes to the federal government, the grants, we will finalize those numbers by August.
Do you know when the state assigns our tier level, when we can
Yeah,
expect that?
that is in August as well.
August, okay.
Yeah, but once we know what the Springfield will finalize with their budget, it will kind of give us some idea if we're getting like a prorated down or if we're getting a little bit more. But what the district will be assigned the money will come in August. So EBF, evidence-based funding formula, that is the core funding from the state. Just back before 2017, business managers would wake up and there was a prorated down on their core money from the state. The formula before that, it was based on the headcount of students, but not necessarily what that student was doing and what services was required. So the new formula put a lot into perspective, put a lot of points to kind of look into local capacities and also the services that are being provided. So once they changed that formula, DeKalb actually was a kind of was very advantageous for them, because you can see back in 2017 we were looking at about 22 million, and as we go down the years we went up to 57 million. So the tier 3 number that we were last year, you can see that we moved up very quick from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3, and what that shows indicates where the state considers the district. So the higher the tier is, the higher level of adequacy. So last year we looked at, we were assigned a tier 3 with 93%, but the state really looked at us as with a very high financial adequacy, which means that the local capacity from the district was getting higher. And if you want to compare it with another district out here, for example, St. Charles is at 108%. We're looking at 93 and maybe even higher this year. So that shows that in the formula, the state is looking at us saying that we have the local capacity target, our EAV is growing, we are low in priority for them. So that is kind of a concern for us, because as our EAV grows, we're also kind of abating that back, or underfunding, or underlevying. So something to consider. Our EBF shows that our local capacity is growing. Our adequacy, financial adequacy is growing, but we're kind of not seeing that because I don't think we are that close to a St. Charles district, right? So we're gonna look at this
Just
more.
real quick. By moving tiers, the number up, which is the funding down,
Correct.
it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, because it's saying that our community is solvent and it's thriving and all that fun stuff. That is a good thing to say about our community. But by that means that the rest of the state is not helping as much as they used to when we were not thriving, right?
So yes, so we are not a priority in funding for them, which means that we could lose opportunities in priority in funding from the state. But also, a lot of things we don't think about it, but right now the state is at, let's say, $2.2 billion deficit, right? So, and they're looking places to cut. Education is only 10% of the budget, however, it's something they look into. But when they start cutting, the ones that they are gonna look at cut will be the tiers that are higher or that are lower priorities. So, and us being tier 3 or maybe tier 4 this year, we will probably be the first on the chopping block before they go into those underfunded schools, which are normally under tier 1 and tier 2. And this, I think this chart is very good. It kind of gives you kind of like a pot of money when all the state has, where the tier 1 will get 50% of that money, and every district in there is able to, collect from it, right? And then you have the other bucket of 49, and here we are at tier 3, we're only about 0.9% of that funding that we can grab from. And that might make sense, because if you look between the years, it's zoomed. I know what I did, it's zoomed, but. So back here, if you take a look, back in tier 2, we were getting about 578,000. You can see that those, the arrows, that's when our numbers start kind of going down. So we were tier 2, we were making about 500. We got back a little bit lower by 294. And then once we hit tier 3, we were like 137,000. And this year, we might be even lower than that. So again, that indicates the priority that we are under.
So I guess just two things that I wanna clarify, just so I understand. With evidence-based funding, the formula doesn't necessarily work, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm right, the formula is just, we still have a base bucket of money the state gives us. The EBF is just, we're only giving you X amount more than that bucket every year going forward, correct? Like, we still have a very big bucket of money they're giving us, they're just saying, hey, new money is gonna be allocated towards these other districts. So it's not necessarily that we've, just so I'm clear, lost money, we're just not getting as much more as we would have if we were tier 2 or 1, correct?
Yes, and however, we are on the lower priority, and I think that's also something to consider. And this will be connected to the next part of funding with the state, which is the state mandated categoricals. So just like the title says, mandated categoricals are state mandated activities, but that are not funded, or at least are getting reimbursed from the state. But what we're seeing is the state is prorating that down. They're asking us to run these programs, but they are not reimbursing us fully. So you're gonna see school districts kind of fighting this, because we've seen a massive losses or loss of reimbursements. And I kind of gave a good chart here that shows our special ed transportation. We were getting reimbursed about 81%. And every year, they looked at this, they didn't touch EBF money, right? Because kind of what Chris said, like you have a base every year, but they went to these mandated categoricals. These are mandated state legislation that is asking the districts to do, but they're not funding it, or at least they're not reimbursing as they used to. So we're seeing special ed transportation growing from 81% in '24, we're expecting 60% in '27. It becomes an exponential issue because as we lose reimbursements, our cost is growing with our contract as well. So every year that deficit keeps growing, and then we have to dip into our local taxes. So that becomes an issue.
I have a quick question. I don't think that you covered this earlier. What metrics is the state using to determine our tier? Like which tier we fall into and our solvency, et cetera?
Sure. So there is many points that they use in their formula. So the formula is actually very kind of detailed, and that's what worked great with this new funding formula, because it was taking into account from enrollment, from staff to pupil ratios, to local capacity targets, and also equalization between other districts. So the formula is a little kind of complex. They do have kind of this many tabs, charts with many tabs that they go through, but it's that complex formula that actually, I think it gave a very good adequacy level back when, for example, we were taking advantage of our local capacity targets. But right now, we're getting into a higher tiers, but we're really not seeing that because we're not taking what the local maximum capacity is. So the formula is a little complex. It used to be very simple. It used to be a head count. You get $2,000 per student head count, but that wasn't solving the issue because Armir, for example, had many services that he needed, from EL, low income, to special ed, while the state was just only giving them just a head count for that student. So we kept going. We keep providing a lot of services with very little money coming in from the state. So that formula worked out really well. However, the state is looking at changing that because they're seeing some districts that just cannot get up on their feet, for example, where they're tier 1 since 2017 and still at 60%, for example, adequacy. So they're looking to kind of tweak that formula a little bit, but that's more the Springfield side, not the ISB side. So
Are they looking at the town and county as what, like, for that?
Correct.
For adequacy, it's not just the school district, right?
yeah, there is an equalization factor, right? So if, for example, DeKalb is unusual from the area, then there is an equalization factor that they have. But for the most part, they do look at our EAV numbers and our rate setting EAVs, so they can see how much we really can have capacity to collect, if that makes sense. So.
Okay, just to understand the chart you put up there, that one. Tier 1 is 50%, tier 2 is 49%, so you get the 99, and then 3 and 4 fill the 1% after. But the asterisk says it includes tier 1 and tier 2 districts. So that means that of the 99%, tier 1 gets 50%, and then if you're on tier 1, you still get a part of the other 49% as well. And I'm getting a big head shake there.
Yeah.
So if you're tier 1, you're getting a lot of money coming back, okay.
Right. And
We
you
were
can,
tier 1 at one time. I
yeah,
was looking at those numbers on the other slide.
For sure, my first year
That was-
and your second year.
yeah, we were getting, so from 2018 to, yeah, into the millions.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's talk about expenses. So where the funds are expended, as we know, salaries and benefits are gonna be the highest, but mixed into the purchase services, the supplies and materials and per capital outlay, we also have the new ELDC construction. So right now, we're in the architect and design stage. So we're still kind of incurring some very small amounts, but we're gonna be seeing construction bills coming in next year, but the biggest bulk coming in the following year. So I have it written what is estimated for us. We're looking at about 7.4 million, where we are going to be start that kind of the initial construction stage of the ELDC building. So that is mixed in with the numbers there that you're seeing. But we're looking at about 165 million of expenses. And so what is that composed of? Our salary increases, we talked about, Deidre just mentioned, are unaffiliated contracts, are performance-based, so they go from no increase to about 5%. Our contracts, we're looking at about 5% for teachers, 2.9% DFSA and DFSS, and our office professionals at 4%. We have looked at benefits. We are talked to our providers with the benefits, and there is a lag in time, right? So whenever there's claims out, it takes a little bit longer for the insurance to kind of kick in and pay off. So right now, with the numbers that we're looking at, it's still early. We're gonna get those numbers finalized in August, but but a educated guess was a 9% increase for that as well. So not the crazy amount we looked last time. We were 38% increase, but thankfully, we're kind of settling down to a more a normal kind of year. But so again, crossing our fingers because we still don't know what the new claims will happen between March and June, and then we'll get those numbers actually finalized in August. Our transportation contract is up by 4% this year. Food service is 4.1%. Crossing guard is kind of a smaller, but we're looking at 2% increase on that one. As you can see, all of our contracts, almost none of them actually are close to the PTEL CPI. Again, these are the tax levy CPI, the December 25 number of 2.7%. So all our contracts and our cost of doing business is still increasing. This is kind of a tentative view of where our numbers are. So we are a deficit, but that has nothing to do with a structural deficit, which would cause a little bit more different way of tackling our budget. This is only a temporary, it is very intentional, it is kind of a little bit regulated and very watched at. So we're looking about 2.5 million, and that's almost exclusively has to do with our ELDC construction. All right, so what are some budget considerations?
I guess I just wanna make sure that's repeated for all of the public watching. We are in a deficit because we as a board and district have intentionally chosen to construct an ELDC, and it is not because we are running any rampant insolvency. It is purely because we are spending a lot of money on a building, and we've intentionally chosen to take from reserve funds on that, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Yes, and that is, we cannot stress that enough. It's not a
Yes, yes.
structural deficit. So what are considerations for our budget? So we will have adjustments until August, and I will be bringing that forward. But what is our considerations for a budget? Inflation keeps growing. We're looking more into it. We'll see how that affects what our contracts, our supplies, everything that we do for our activities. There's another concern. The federal assistant eligibility could reduce the number of students classified for free and reduced lunch status. So that may affect district allocation for EBF, for title grants, and for every other. But again, this has not happened yet, but we're kind of seeing that. Springfield has their budget in end of May, so we're gonna look into it. We're seeing some movement, some support for early childhood education and educator pipeline programs like the teacher vacancy. However, because of the deficit, we're still monitoring how that will really pan out. Transportation, again, and special education expenditures are probably the most financially stressed categories because of the proration of reimbursements. For our district purposes, financing of the new LDC, we talked about that in the next 3 years, we're gonna be spending out of our, for cash financing. There is uncertainties both on state and federal. If there is any other questions? The rest are simply something that is being talked about, but nothing has been concrete, at least being formalized.
So I guess just the only thing that I just wanna make sure that we're all very cognizant of as we move into more of the budget process. I know we've kind of highlighted, hey, we're potentially losing some federal or state financing. And I do understand that the way we have been abating and levying does have long-term impacts, but One thing I do want everyone to also be reminded of, in 2020, our budget was $100 million. We are looking at a budget this year of $165 million. So while I know there are a lot of things our students need, I also want us to be cognizant of, just for easy math, let's just say all of our families in DeKalb are making $100,000 a year, which they're not. If they got raises that amounted to them going from $100,000 to $165,000 a year, and they still came to us, just as individuals, and said, I still can't afford my bills, we would look at them like they were crazy, just to be honest, we would. So I wanna make sure that we as a district are also being cognizant of, people are hurting right now. We also wanna make sure that we wanna do amazing things for our students, but we also need to make sure we're keeping in mind, we can't cry broke when we've increased our budget by $65 million in 6 years. So I just wanna make sure we're being cognizant of that. Any other questions?
Can I just
Yes.
remind us that we were coming also back from COVID, so things were very different in 2020, and then coming back in with all of the new nuances of what COVID brought to us. So that could also, I just wanna make sure that that factors into it as well.
Not that I need to remind everybody, but again, everybody's still talking about their property taxes they got, and the district was, as is the case with every district around the state, responsible for 60% of your average property tax, so people took kind of a hit this year, so when we're looking ahead, and I said at the last meeting, I'd really like to see some savings, I know there's needs, but maybe some things we can get rid of at the same time, so let's be conscious of that as well.
All right, anyone have any other questions or comments?
I do want to, just for the district's perspective, I agree, we need to be cautious, I'm curious, are we putting anything back into the fund, budgeting for that, since we're taking so much out over the next few years, are we putting any money back in to try to regrow that, or is this budget not include anything like that?
So, so the construction, it was about 7.4 million, and the deficit is at 2.5, so we have been conscious about our budgets. Every department leader has gone through it. We've been kind of going 2 or 3 meetings, really looking, even with the inflationary pressure, they have looked at anything that they can defer so that the cushion is not as hard as, let's say, the 7.4 million, and really it's looking at 2.5 right now. So there will be nothing going into a fund probably in the next 3 years. However, we're being cognizant of it. We understand it. Everyone knows the situation of the district, and they're trying to live as much in their means as they can.
And just as far as like the tax rate, I recognize we eat up a large portion of the tax bill, but the home values have gone up, like our rates have gone down or stayed flat for many years now, and it's not an easy consideration for people like, well, I'm not liquid just because my house is worth more. But I mean, my house, since we bought it 6 years ago, is worth like $140,000 more than I paid for it. And I'm paying a few $100s more, $400 more in taxes a year. Like, it's not a lot of consolation, but it's not like, we're just trying to seek every bit of everyone's equity, so there's more to it than just the amount we're getting. People are wealthier, quote unquote, than they were a few years ago, even though we're getting a little bit more in taxes, just for whatever that's worth.
On paper, though, you can't turn the spigot on and.
That's why I said it's not regulated, but it's still wealth
Right.
that's been generated, in part because of all the good growth that we've had in this community.
All right, time for the strategic plan.
Thank you, Ramir.
I know everyone is gonna have the greatest Cliff Notes version of this one for us, right?
Good evening, everyone. You have this strategic plan, so I'm not going to read it. It's 51 pages. I would not be able to read it to you anyway. I just wanted to let you and our community know that we do have a new strategic plan. which is our comprehensive roadmap to advancing our district priorities so that we can make sure we are increasing student outcomes. I just wanted to explain to you a couple portions of the strategic plan for the sake of our community as well. We do still have the 4 strategic priorities, which have corresponding levers. Each of the priorities, pretty much to say it in layman's terms, it tells us what we need to focus on. It tells us what we need to do to achieve our vision. And then the levers, which are under each strategic priority, is basically telling everyone what actions the district will take to get where we said we want to go. And then under each lever, there are multiple strategies. And I would say that we are most proud, the Strategic Planning Committee, of those those strategies, because they really help us to have measurable outcomes. If you, not Patton, I still say DeKalb is the best school district in the entire universe. If you compared our strategic plan to a lot of other strategic plans, it is a lot of theory, a lot of hyperbole. This is real time. Anybody can pick this document up, and a teacher in 3rd grade or a instructional assistant that's helping in our SOL program or an administrator of a building can pick the strategic plan up and see how their role actually ties into advancing this district. This plan became, it was refined as a result of many meetings, 4 writing retreats, and then several meetings with the strategic plan committee, which we ended up with 19 goals in 2 different areas. The 2 areas are the academic achievement and engagement in climate. That's it. See, wasn't that quick?
Wow.
All right, now we're gonna jump right into, any questions about this?
So I'm looking through the climate goals.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to find anything on safety and security for the sense of safety and security amongst the students and the staff.
I believe that that's gonna be tied into the 5 essential, you're talking about the actual, you're talking about the actual goals. So we don't have a very specific goal because we would have had 57 goals instead of 19. But it is inferred when you get into, the climate, the 5 essential goals. And I'm trying to remember what they are like right now. It would be goals 14, 15, and 16. So pretty much, if families feel that we have involvement, and then collaborative teachers, and then the supportive environment, goal 16 would be part of that. There are some specific, if you read down into some of the strategies and drill those down, we have more conversations about that.
Do you have an idea for the graduation rate if we account for students that dropped out or left for technical schools and things like that? What a
Yes.
more accurate percentage would be?
So that is the most accurate because it does take into those different data points for if you just stop showing up to school or if you let us know, I'm a teen mom and I'm going to take another route to get a high school equivalency. Yep.
So, not to hammer down on this point yet again, but as a person who works at a different school district, have friends in different communities around northern Illinois, all these goals are great, but they don't look and go, oh yeah, the climate at DeKalb High School or the middle schools or the DeKalb School District is great because of the 5 essential surveys. They say it's not safe to send my kid to school there, right? That there's gangs roaming around throughout the school, right? That the teachers are getting threatened on a daily basis. All those rumors are roaming around there. And none of these
Definitely are
goals.
rumors.
Right, yeah, they're rumors, but none of these goals say, yes, we acknowledge there's an issue with that specifically, that the image specifically, we're gonna try to change that.
Right.
And not change the image, but say that, yes, our eyes are on that, and we know it. It's in there, I have no question that it's in there, but you have to dive in pretty deep, and nobody who's nobody who's reading what she's writing
Right.
is gonna dive in that deep.
Right, because you write goals based on your needs assessment. So if the rumor is not a need. The rumor is just that, a rumor. And so there is one of our marketing and engagement goals and strategies is specifically about what people, the story that they tell about DeKalb High School, about DeKalb School District as a whole. That is more of the issue, but to write a goal for a problem that does not exist would be, would not be appropriate. But I hear you. I hear what you're saying. We just wouldn't write a goal. That's not the way that you write a goal for strategic plan. Strategic plan is specifically addressing needs that you know are present, and then you write your goals because you're saying, I want to get here. What we would be writing a goal in that case would be saying, we know it's not, like, we don't have rogues of gangs running around any of our schools, so we wouldn't write a goal about it. But definitely there are strategies in here to which Rita's department, the communications department, and multiple others are recognizing that we must do things to change the narrative.
Yeah, so that's,
Yep.
that would be a goal that I could see that maybe, you know, I mean, because realistically, that affects everything. You know, and to be brutally honest, I mean, NIU does it. They literally change their crime stats to affect the way that the community of NIU looks. Now, I am so against that. We're not changing any statistics to do that. But to actually have a goal to say that we are going to attack the image of the district, because the district image is something that will drive people in or out of our community.
And there are multiple strategies. It didn't need to be the collective group, not a Monica Quinette. I'm smart, but I'm not that intelligent. The collective group at the 4 different writing sessions, which were all-day events over the course of the entire school year, decided what was appropriate to be a strategy and what was appropriate to be a goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add? You good?
Yes or no? I don't
Yes or no? Okay, she got something to add. You know, she's a communications person.
Just quickly, on the Cliff Notes side, I mean, yes, reputation management, making sure that we are, as a unit, understanding where our strengths are and that we're promoting those strengths. That's very much a part of this plan, to the point where y'all might want to give me another position at some point. So, we're just gonna say that.
Good plug, great plug. All right, so we're gonna jump into the updates. So I'll do the update for facilities and safety operations first. She was not able to make it. So progress was made on the preliminary plans for the new ELDC building. And plans are now underway to upgrade the work order management system. And then the new director of facility and operation has been hired and the transition process has begun. So those are 3 highlights for that department. The primary area of focus for next school year would be to stay on track for the building of the new ELDC with the construction schedule, as well as to really use an asset essential system to ensure that when work orders are completed, that they're completed in a timely order and that we are doing a good job of maintaining records that was already fixed. So, you know, I'm not fixing the same thing 11 times. Maybe I need to buy a new one instead of fixing it 11 times. You understand that part? Okay. And then I also have the update for Peter Goff. We have a lot of new activities. One of the goals for that department was to increase activities down to the 5th grade level, 5th and 6th grade level. And in some of our elementary schools, we have activities from the 3rd grade level and up, which was an increase from last year. And then their other highlight was just, of course, because of the, I would say, world-renowned facilities at DeKalb High School. More people are reaching out, having different tournaments, like the badminton tournament that you attended, and that is allowing us to get some increase in like concessions and things of that nature. So those are the 2 things he wanted me to share. Any questions about those 2?
Just
Great.
to speak on that briefly,
Yes.
I think it's great that we're putting more investment in the elementary schools and trying to get more like after-school activities and clubs for them and sports, because, you know, there's a lot of great things about DeKalb, but there's not a lot for young kids to do. And so if we can provide that structured opportunity, I'm fully supporting of that. And, if we can get more folks involved with mentoring those kids and sponsoring their activities, I think that's great. So I appreciate hearing that.
For the Improvement and Innovation Department, the strategic plan was a big thing that we helped to facilitate this year. It is more coherent, and from the people who tend to look at the strategic plan, which are the leaders because they have to tie their school improvement plans to it, we are setting in systems of not just aligning systems, but providing that true accountability. Some of the questions that we had and previous school board members had in the past was, how do we know that people are doing what they said they're going to do, and how do we hold them accountable? This is a roadmap to do so. One of the other things is that the majority of professional learning communities for this year had at least 3 professional practice cycles. And what that really means is that they used inquiry-based ways of looking at some issues that they had. They met, and then they also reported out again that accountability piece has increased for professional learning communities. So it's not just, myself and, Minerva sitting in the room, eating bonbons. That never happened, people. But, now there's more of accountability to make sure that that cycle happens and that people are reporting out on what they're doing in their PLCs. For next year, we're going to lead a comprehensive district-wide, because it is time. You should do one every 10 years. And the last time we did a needs assessment, it was in 2017, and we paid somebody a lot of money. I'm not gonna say how much we paid them, but we paid them a lot of money to do something that there are people within this district to do. So that's gonna be a big project. It's gonna be large scale. It will require town hall meetings, community conversations, surveys, and things of that nature. And our students, family, staff will bring in their perspectives.
Do you know when that's gonna start, or like when?
Next school year, beginning of the school year.
Through the whole school year,
Oh,
like
it's
how
a
long
whole-
does that run?
It's a year-long process, minimally.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I can go.
Sure, yeah.
One. All right, so for a spring update, we had many district AI integrations increased across the district on a bunch of different platforms. From our district data dashboard to Google inviting us to an AI pilot. And many of our security platforms have also integrated AI into those platforms as well for real-time detection and response. The technology department worked with all departments to explore ways to streamline, automate processes, leveraging more of the interoperability between Skyward, cumulative, and disparate systems. And also 2 members from the team got primary certification in Cisco networking. So we also had some good momentum with human capital recruitment, development, and retainment. And areas of focus for next year, we have really strong momentum in regards to our AI integrations, especially with the pilot team. So working towards more targeted professional development for all the staff in regards to AI as it relates to the classroom. As well as working within the network security team and exploring more AI-based mitigations that we can integrate to help support and secure the district. And then adding more systems, they have hooks into cumulative again to increase that interoperability and automation between our centralized services and outside systems. So, thank you.
Ben,
Sure.
have you worked with curriculum to kind of educate our educators on ways to avoid the improper use of AI in the classroom?
Yeah, so I've worked specifically with Billy and Sarah on some of this stuff, but we do have the AI guidance that's been pushed out and is shared with all district staff. We also do this through PLCs, Institute Days, relying on instructional coaches, as well as, again, members who have been part of the AI team when the district started sort of our progress with this. And then we're gonna be relying on members of the AI Google group as well, who are going through that professional development right now to continue those conversations, so.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Anything else?
Good evening, I'm AJ Crook, I'm the multilingual programs coordinator for preschool through 12th grade.
I'm Jill Springer, I am the elementary humanities manager. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Amy Broadcorb, secondary STEAM manager.
I'm going to speak first. It has taken us 3 years, and we have worked diligently to change our elementary literacy core curriculum from what was considered a balanced literacy curriculum to what you may have heard of as a science of reading curriculum. It's an evidence-based curriculum. I want to stress that this is not anything unique to DeKalb. This is something that's being called for nationally, and just about every school in the country is doing this. What I really want to emphasize is that these shifts have been significant, and our teachers are being asked to teach in ways that they've never taught in before. And so we're really sitting in a time where we really need to continue to support them with resources and with professional development. You're gonna talk more about the specific shifts.
Sure, so I will speak to the interdisciplinary units of instruction that we started creating a few years ago, starting with 3rd grade. This year, we've rolled up to 5th grade, and we're utilizing data to target which grade level we need to focus on next. So looking at our data, we'll be finishing up 5th grade next year and transitioning to 2nd grade to beef up that instruction with these foundational skills. The other highlight I have for you is that dual language is rolling up to 6th grade next year. So we have been working on 6th grade curriculum for the past year. We started working on 7th grade curriculum. We need to be about 1.5 years in advance as we're writing our curriculum so that we're ready to go in the fall.
And then in the STEAM world, so we have 3rd through 5th grade, all 3rd through 5th grade classrooms are doing PLTW this year. Sarah Schaefer and I trained all the teachers, so we've got that going. That's Project Lead the Way. We have our 6th grade teachers got trained this year and will be teaching a module of PLTW at 6th grade at both middle schools next year, so we're really excited about that. And then next year, we will also be training all our 2nd grade teachers, so now we're going down to 2nd grade, so that they will be trained and they can implement a module of PLTW starting the following school year. So that's in our STEAM world. Questions?
Thank you.
Good evening. Excuse me, in the world of student and family services, I was in front of the board talking a lot about our new ELDC and the plans for that, but I kind of want to highlight other work that's been going on in parallel throughout the year at the ELDC, which is really to work towards their model of service delivery to kind of ultimately create more inclusive learning environments for all students. It might not be as flashy as setting out like designs for a big new building, right? But I do think this is the work that is kind of underneath the water, as the iceberg would say, the analogy. So most of the impact that we're gonna have on our kids is gonna come from the work that the teachers have been putting in this year, led by Shannon. So we've been happy to be along for the ride with that, with ultimately the goal of having more options for students who are at risk and less restrictive learning environments for students with disabilities. In addition to that, we really leaned into community engagement. We've been really proud of the partnership that we've been able to continue and build upon with Family Service Agency. So I did put some information in there just in terms of the impact that they've had across our district and the schools. The other one that's not on here that I want to highlight is Greater Family Health. This would be our full year in partnership with them. One of the big things they do is they help us with clinics to make sure that our families have access to physicals and immunizations. Prior to our exclusion date, but then afterwards as well. As we look into next year, we're gonna be kind of focused on a lot of things. ELDC is gonna continue, but we really wanna continue to lean into those community partnerships with more of a focus on NIU and continuing to work with them in the ways that we already are, but looking at those new ways to partner to not only help our department, but across the district.
So next up is Human Resources. We live in Strategic Priority 4, which is Human Capital Recruitment, Development, and Retainment. As HR, we support everything that happens in the district because the people are the ones who make the wheels of the bus go round and round. Accomplishments and things that we've continued to improve on include the compiling of data and ensuring its integrity for reporting, updating Skyward to be more reflective of the life cycle of our employees. So over the years, technology has advanced and we've moved into better, faster, stronger systems, but it doesn't always tell the right story for the life of our employees. So we've been doing a lot of work of cleaning up data and making sure that it does paint the right picture. Secondly, improving the posting, hiring, and onboarding process for our candidates. We want to ensure that when people have decided that D428 is the place for them, they have the very best experience coming through the door so that that great experience continues to happen. We have a better cycle of posting, interviewing, and hiring so that we can garner stronger and more qualified candidates. Our third accomplishment is employee relations and accountability for all of our stakeholders. We address concerns and establish boundaries that support our collective bargaining agreements, our district goals, and all of our initiatives. And that's ongoing work that we do so that continues to breed a positive climate and culture for the district. Our areas of focus are continuing to streamline continuing to streamline processes that tie into the needs of all of our stakeholders. That includes our candidates, our new hires, and our current employees. And then finally, ensuring the HR onboarding process is detailed and seamless for all staff. We have a good structure in place for our teachers. We've now started to build even better structures for our DFSA assistant members, also our FDAS office assistant members, and we just need to continue to strengthen that experience so that when people come here, they understand what the rules of engagement are and how HR and all the other departments of the district are here to support them. Any questions I can answer?
Sort of a random question. We get the personnel reports every month, you know, people who are being reassigned, different things, new
Yep.
hires, et cetera.
All the moving around action.
Yeah. How many people come in and out of the district in like a given year? Could you ballpark that number? Because it seems to be like, you know, we're hiring new folks and, you know, and retirees and things like that. It just seems like there's a lot of people moving happening
It
through your
is,
department.
and I would not give you a number because I'm gonna,
Sure.
it's like.
I wouldn't
lottery,
expect you to
y'all.
have it, but it just seems
Yeah.
like, wow, like that,
I can
we employ a lot of people.
And we
there's a
do
lot
have
of-
that data. I can capture that and I can get that and share with all of the board. We do have a lot of staff moving in and out, for a variety of reasons. Turnover happens
Yeah,
because life
sure.
happens, yep.
No perspective on that, just
And
curious the
then
number.
sometimes we get qualified applicants, just not at the right time. So when we do get those applicants and candidates, we want to get them in the door so that we can start building the strongest staff pool that we have. So I can get you that data, but it is ongoing. Prior to me arriving in the district, the stories I hear are they hire people and people stayed and people stayed. COVID really changed that. I joined D428 during the time of COVID, so everything was very fluid. And since then, it's continued to be that way. Some things that contribute to that, the state of Illinois, ISB, has now created a process where teachers that have tenure, it's called tenure portability. Teachers that have tenure can move to another district and can expedite and take their tenure with them. So back in the day when teachers got tenure, you would see them in a district till they retired. Well, now they have that option to move around and have that safety net with that tenure. That has encouraged folks to want to do just that, move around, whether it's for better opportunities or because districts are offering great programs or it's the passion of the work they want to do. There's many reasons behind that. Also, when we look at our support staff, D428 is becoming a place where people truly want to work. And they don't just want to work here, they want to work here, make a career, and stay here. So now that we're more desirable, when we do have those openings, people are like, this is my chance.
Yeah, I think we've seen some people coming in that are, you know, tenured folks that, you know, normally they would maybe be going somewhere else, but because they can do so well here and we have
Yes.
so many good supports for them, they're coming here.
Yes. Thank you.
Teacher,
Yes.
one
Sorry.
more.
Sorry.
You mentioned the climate and retention. And I know that the survey exists, and I'm just maybe forgetting seeing it. But the survey to the employees about their leadership teams and what in the military we call them command and climate surveys. And it's literally asking the soldiers how they feel about their commanders. we have one of those, right?
So
Sort
we
of.
do have 5 Essentials survey that captures some of that data, and that's through the state, through ISB. We, in the past, have had a true climate and culture survey. The board opted to discontinue that, so that is no longer in place. Not something we did away with for any particular reason, but we had captured the data that we were looking for and built it into our strategic plan and other goals and initiatives, and we're working towards achieving some of those goals and improving the areas that had gaps or lack.
So the 5 essential surveys will capture if this staff, well, it goes to staff and families, but just specifically the staff in this case that I'm asking about, have faith that they're being led by the right people or in the right ways. That 5 essential surveys will capture that?
Well, it doesn't ask it in that way,
Not that abrupt, I get it, but
I mean, it's a matter of interpretation, right? Yeah, so the question's not pointed like that, but it asks in a broader sense. But administrators for each building, and we have many here that can speak to it, they do get a good, strong idea on what their staff, how they feel the building is progressing or not progressing, as well as them as a leader. Do you guys agree, or anybody have anything different to offer? They're nodding yes.
Questions around collaboration.
You gotta come to the mic.
Sorry, I opened my mouth.
yeah.
The questions that come up are around collaboration between admin and staff. And it goes out to any staff that is in front of teaching, so assistants and such that might be in the classroom teaching, they fill out that survey out. And then there's also the collaboration of staff to staff. So you get 2 perspectives of how they feel towards their leadership and how they feel amongst peers. And you want those high numbers, and then you can dissect it with your staff, which I will be doing on Friday, not next week, on Friday, as to these are the numbers we have, where do we do with it, where do we wanna go, how can we build this up, what were some good things that happened in our building, so.
And then, thanks, Jen.
Okay.
At a district level, that gets reported, well, like once a year, right? I think,
From the,
the 5 essential surveys.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
other questions? Okay, thank you.
Right, for business and finance, our focus has always been community engagement, telling our story, telling our financial goals. We're getting better at it. We're looking, just this year, we were able to get the FFC meeting to have a community facilitator who kind of brought that lens, brought in what questions the community brings in or asks, and be able to kind of facilitate that meeting. So we're looking to expand more and hopefully keep this model for the next years as well. The Beyond One Bar Transition Center, we are on track on purchasing it. We finished the survey and we're looking to close on June 1st. This spring, we also talked about the financial plans for new ELDC and HMS renovations. For the next year, we have many meetings on a potential interactive display of our financial dashboard monthly. We've had many meetings with it. There's still some things to tweak, but we should be able to start that next year, hopefully July. But we're very, very close with it. So that's kind of our focus for next year. And that next focus will also be on site with our school leaders to provide that support of the business office.
Quick question. I'm very curious about the monthly district financial dashboard. What sort of information you foresee being on there and available?
Sure. Yeah, and so there's so many models out there. So there is one that has multi-years. There is one that has the kind of what the monthly report that the board provides, but in a very chart, graphic, interactive, where you can go back and forth between funds. So we're looking at those models. We kind of have a good idea. There is some tweaks in terms of technology. So, but I believe it will. We can share what we've seen some other school districts that have it. So you can
Yeah, I'd be
kind of
curious to see
take a look.
what we're modeling it after, and we have an approximate anticipation of when this is gonna be up and running?
Yeah,
What the goal is, I should say?
Sure. Our goal was to, get it as soon as we could.
Sure.
It's just, I would say maybe July
Okay.
would be the best, maybe start the year with that as well.
Gotcha.
Thank you. All right, we're going to get into the end of the year, spring.
I guess before you start real quick, I just wanna say, all of our other administrators, since the building SIP goals part is done, you guys don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't want to. You're getting permission from the board to leave if you would like.
Because they get up so early in the morning to be.
Yes.
Did you have questions about the building, please?
Thank you, Chris.
I'm just gonna say.
Yeah?
Do you want a 5-minute break?
All right, everyone's very favorite part is the data from the end of year testing related to, of course, academic achievement as well as discipline and attendance. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention that came up already this evening before we get started on this, which I promise will be brief. First, JJ, you mentioned something about NIU and data, and I wanted to commend you for your perspective that we should always be reporting our data accurately, regardless of whether it paints us in a positive light or whether it raises concerns. So please rest assured that one of the things that I really like doing, and that I know that Dr. Parker supports me on and the rest of the district as well, is that we are always going to point out the areas of celebration and the areas where we know we need to do a better job for kids. So thank you for saying out loud that you also agree with that perspective. I appreciate that. And President Boyce, I know you asked about high school graduation rate. So just so you're aware, we always attempt to present all of the data as closely as possible to what you'll find on the Illinois report card. And so everyone knows when students are in DeKalb, if they leave the high school, and we can't say with certainty exactly where they're going, they are on our rolls and they count as one of our students until such time as they enroll in another school district in Illinois, or we can say with certainty they've moved out of state. So we are, for lack of a better term, at 8:26 p.m., we are on the hook for those kids until somebody else assumes responsibility for them. That will always impact our graduation rate, and frankly, it's probably okay, because we should be following up with kids and saying, where did you end up going to school? No one has requested your records, what are you doing, so that in case they are not in school, we can reach out and attempt to help them graduate from high school in a timely manner. Does that make sense? Okay, so looking at our data, I promise I will move through it as quickly as is appropriate. We've got the same format for the very last time. So going forward, because we have 19 new strategic plan goals, the BOI, MOI, and EOI presentations won't look exactly like this. Each slide will be one of our goals and then the best data we can come up with to approximate where we are with in relation to that goal. It will be maybe briefer. I'm probably still going to make these for my own benefit because I like them, but also because I think it's really important that we look at, for example, in our suspension data, to what extent are our students of color overrepresented in our student population that is experiencing exclusionary discipline. Again, we have to look at the areas where we have to continue to improve. This is relatively flat and has been since I've been here. And it is worth noting that the group of students is no longer the same actual human beings, because this is the end of my 5th year working in DeKalb. So it's not the same kids. So it must be a system that is in some way targeting some kids or providing some kids with experiences that are different than others. Every system works the way it was designed. So we have to take a look at the design of our systems and say, why is it impacting different groups of kids differently?
I have to ask a question.
Go ahead. You know I'm always happy to answer any question you have to the best of my ability.
Very true. I agree with part of that statement of being, they're different kids, so it does show that it's not just the kids, but we have, again, like has been probably said when it comes to various different aspects of schooling, we have them for 6 of 24 hours. So our system might not be the issue that keeps those numbers the same.
I agree with you. It is not a DeKalb schools problem. It is a larger problem than that. It's not just a DeKalb issue, but we need to figure out how we can play a role in making things more equitable for our students, because after the 6 hours when they're not in our building, they're still our neighbors, and we still need to make sure that they're having good experiences at school so that they make better choices out of school. So we all have to work together on that. And I just want to make sure to highlight our part in that, and that we may be able to look differently at what we're doing and see if we can make the numbers move a little bit in a positive direction. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good answer. It's 8:29.
Real quick.
All right.
Wait, let me jump in really quick, because I don't
Yes,
want
of
to forget
course.
at the end. I just want to officially request that, like, we find a way to have these presentations, because like you, I think they're incredibly important. I think that the public needs access to this information. So even if they're changing, I don't know what that looks like for us, but let's figure out a way, if we can,
Sure.
to still have this
That would be,
going.
I agree.
okay, well, all right, I'm gonna take my time then. You're gonna. The next two slides represent our attendance. Please note that it is each school over a 2-year period. So you'll see on here, on this one, you've got DHS from last year, DHS this year. Blue is this year. This is the report of consistent attendance, which is what Illinois is now looking at rather than chronic absenteeism. This is the percentage of students who have attended 90% of school days. So you can look through this. Jefferson, large jump. Our elementary school data may be more variable because, of course, our elementary students are attending different buildings than they did previously. In the spring assessment data, the orange and black charts, of course, represent growth. I know you're all familiar with those at this point. The black bar represents the national average. Anything above that average means we're seeing really good growth in those grades. This is math. So we've got our middle school math students growing a great deal, which is great. Also second grade. This is growth for the number of students who met their growth goals for reading. So again, I really think we do need to call out 8th grade, not just because I happen to own one of those children, but also because that's really outstanding. That's, 2/3 of our students met their growth goal. 50% is what you would expect. So something great is happening in our classrooms, which we should all be really excited about. Then we've got just a reminder that if our district was as large as the country, incorporated all of our students in the country, you would expect to see the chart on the left. Because these are the percentiles, it's not how many questions they got right, it's where did they fall compared to other students in that grade. And the chart on the right represents charts like you might see in this presentation. So we want more blue, less red. Just a quick reminder. Here are the MAP reading percentile groups K-5 district-wide. And then it's the breakdown you're used to seeing, where I've got over time, keeping in mind that the data was renormed this summer. So we've got new norms for spring of '26. This is the last 5 years, how we've looked in the springs of the previous 5 years. This is by grade. This helps us look at where might we see areas where we need to look at the curriculum and identify areas that need to be strengthened, which is incredibly helpful.
Could you explain the renorming, just how
Sure.
it affects data, perhaps?
Absolutely.
And what that process was?
Yes, the previous norms, so the norms that we were looking at up until this school year represented data for how students performed before the COVID pandemic. They were the 2020 norms, which means the data was gathered probably the 5 or 6 years previous to that. Yeah, 5 or 6 years. So what we were comparing our students to was how did kids normally do before COVID hit? And the entire country experienced learning loss as schools were shut down starting March 17th, 2020. And because of that, we know that students learn differently now than they did before that time. So MAP took the time to renorm and say, it's not really fair to compare them in the way we have been to the tests that were taken prior to COVID. We need to compare tests taken today to tests taken since that time period began. So these are the 2025 norms. Does that make sense?
So they're basically accounting for a seismic shift in what happened to education when that occurred, and the fact that these kids didn't have the same experience with learning before when they had to go to home and learn remotely and that kind of thing. So we're
Yes.
still being measured against their peers, just it's looking at it. How do they account? I guess that's probably too into the weeds, how would they account for something like that? You know,
How would they account for the change
or
in?
like, yeah, how do you, is it just how they're performing then, as opposed to?
Yes,
like,
they
just-
literally,
yeah.
MAP has millions of students taking these tests all the time. So they have millions and millions of data points from 2020 on. So they just said the norm for kids, if you're in 8th grade, your normal score, the 50th percentile score, if you lined up all the kids that took it from how well they did to how poorly they did, the kid standing in the middle has a different score in 2025 than the kid standing in the middle if you had done the same thing in 2020. So that's all they did. They didn't use any methodology that included expected outcomes. This is their actual batting average for how they've done previously, which is not necessarily a predictor of performance to come, but it's describing every time that any kid stood at the plate in the last 5 years.
Because one of the reasons why I asked, like, it looks like, you know, if you look at all the data, like, by and large, like, we're improving a lot in a lot of areas. There's a lot less in the red, as you would say. So, like, kids are getting closer to, you know, proficiency or however you want to define it. And so it's not going to be something that's just a data aberration. It's like, you know, now that we're looking at things differently and we're comparing them equally amongst each other now, our kids are doing better, like, as compared to their same group.
I think that clause at the second half of your sentence is really important. Our kids are doing better because we're comparing them to the correct group. They don't know more than they did necessarily last year. So these charts don't equate exactly perfectly to what the state of Illinois considers proficient, which is a really difficult thing to get your mind around. But yes, compared to everybody else, when we are comparing to the correct group, we have less cause for concern because we're being more realistic.
And is proficiency, is that more like an IAR?
Yes, absolutely.
So the map, and that's more like just individually you, like where you're at, how
Yep.
you're proceeding, okay.
That's a benchmark that doesn't change based on how anyone else is doing.
Okay.
Theoretically, you could have 100% of kids being proficient. That seems incredibly unlikely, but you could, because the bar doesn't move based on how your neighbor does. This does, if your neighbor was, you know, the entire continental United States.
Sure.
Good?
Yeah, good.
All right. I want to let the record show I'm not the one going slow. Sorry.
It's the time to
I know,
ask.
I'm glad you're asking questions, it's fantastic. It's absolutely the time to ask. As you'll see, we still have opportunity gaps across our race and ethnicities, which we need to address, and across our students who are coming from low-income households and those who don't. Really important to note that while 56% of our students who do not qualify for free and reduced lunch are above the 50th percentile, which is great, that's not our whole district. 2/3 of our district falls in that Y column. So we need to make sure that our systems are serving those students because that's who we are. This is our 6 to 8 data, and I'm gonna invite Betsy to come up and cut me off whenever you want to explain the data. Betsy is our secondary manager for humanities.
You want me to talk about, I can just talk about
Sure,
all
yeah,
of it.
come on up.
Okay. I only have a little bit prepared, but I'll walk you through all of it. So the first thing that you notice when you look at this is that we are really close to that 25%, 25%, 25%, 25% in grades 6 through 8, which is the first celebration. There's a lot of celebrating, so I am going to talk a bit. I'm very excited. So this is us over the last 5 testing sessions. I don't really want to dwell on this because, like what Jess said, you're seeing a change in those norms from the first 4 to the last one. So I actually feel that this kind of minimizes what you're gonna see coming up. So I wanna kind of gloss over this one because here's the chef's kiss. These are our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade scores compared to their peers in the new norms. If you see 6th grade, it's kind of like a reverse stair step, right? With that red specifically. And 6th grade in the 9 years I've been here has always been that case. We've always had the largest chunk of red in our 6th graders. The most important part is that by the time they get to 8th grade, that number has really shrunk. We're down to 16%. We're below the nation in our bottom 20th percent. So we have fewer kids in the bottom 20th percent, 25th percentile than the nation does, which is phenomenal. So I like to really think about this as reading is developmental, literacy growth is developmental, and in 6th grade, we're really building those higher level reading skills for our students that provides a foundation for them to accelerate their growth in 7th and 8th grade. And this is a trend that we have seen in our district for at least the last 8 or 9 years. So that's nothing new. What is new is how fat those blue and green areas are. I am so excited about that. Our teachers and our students worked so hard this year with a new curriculum. So this is as our teachers are learning their new curriculum, they were able to push our students to move into the blue and the green. And the blue and the green is significant because like we were just talking about proficiency, and Jess has it on here somewhere, but that bar for IAR proficiency sits right between the blue and the green. So it's not good enough for our students to be at 50th percentile if we want them to be proficient. They have to be higher than that. So I'm really excited to see that blue and that green growing. Any questions about that? This is big stuff. Okay, and then our opportunity gap, this is the other thing to talk about. What Jess and I kind of went over the data really quickly between last year and this year, and unfortunately our gap is not diminishing. We were really hoping that it would be because the bar has been raised, the kids are all moving up. But what has turned out to be, especially in the case of low income, versus non-low income, is that all of our students are coming up together. So you will see that red for low income students last year was 43%, and then those students, now it's just 33% of students in grades 6 through 8 that are in low income status are in the red, and then they've bumped up. Also, students who are not low income bumped up. So we still see the gap is there, but we're elevated when we experience that gap. So, I mean, we're working on it.
So I wanted to ask about that, because
Yeah.
I noted in the slide here, that's a tremendous achievement. And that's like one of the biggest issues we face is the achievement gap between low income and non-low income students. What did you do? How do we replicate it?
We did a lot this year. We really did a lot this year. So one of the things was the new curriculum, Amplify. And Amplify did have a number of really great things about it. So it had the fact that it provided a really good structure for both students and teachers. So when students walked into the room, their cognitive load was reduced because they knew the pattern of the lesson, because it was wash and repeat, right? You just do it over and over again. And then teachers also had this structure, so they weren't trying to create everything, which is why these pre-made curriculums are so important, because our teachers should be teaching, they should be focusing on instruction, they should not be having to create their entire curriculum, which is a lot of pieces for all the differentiation too that has to happen in the classroom. So they were able to focus on their instruction. They were able to say, here's my base, here's my platform, here's where I know my kids are gonna need extra help or extra lessons, I'm gonna work on those. And so they were able to focus on that. The other thing that comes with Amplify is the rigor of the text was higher, both in what we were asking the students to do with it. Our students wrote so much this year, not just in language arts. I have to give that credit to social studies and science as well. There was a big focus in social studies and science on literacy as well. Those teachers did a great job, and that undoubtedly has helped our students as well. And then the texts were just harder. I mean, just flat out harder. They read the narrative of Frederick Douglass in 8th grade. They read A Raisin in the Sun in 7th grade. They read Odysseus in 6th grade. So the text was just up. Everything was up. And our students achieved on all of our common assessments above what the publisher anticipates. So they anticipate 50% is proficiency, and our students consistently came in at 70% or higher. Like our average was 70% on those assessments. So we had good indications that things were trucking along. The other thing that we did was with our Tier 2 instruction, which happens during wind time, instead of just giving kids a reading intervention, we looked at their MAP scores and we said, what strand do kids need the most in? So reading instruction is split into 3. It's informational text, literary text, and vocabulary. And then each one of those had an evidence-based intervention for it that the teachers taught. So students who needed vocabulary went to the vocabulary section and they received that instruction from a teacher. Students who had needs in informational text went to informational text, received that instruction. And we really focused on that first semester, and we saw huge gains in those students in those strands, which then led to higher MAP scores.
I love how the data lets you be so targeted.
Yeah, it was the teachers really did a great job, and
Great.
I would love
Well
to
done.
see all of this like in an article or something, like a survey. Here's what we've done.
I-
And here's how
yeah.
we did it.
Sure, I
So-
can work on that for you. A white page?
Yeah. Whoever wants to do this.
So this is that proficiency bar that we were just talking about too. And this is both third grade and eighth grade. But you can see the proficiency bar for the IAR is sitting up there in the blue. And so if we want our students to be proficient on the IAR, they have to be higher than 50%, 50th percentile. Which makes that really difficult because then we get the IAR results and everybody's like, your kids can't read, only 34% of them, right? But you have to recognize where that bar is at for that. Any questions? Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zimmerman. We also take the reading test in Spanish for students in the dual language program, either two-way at the elementary level or one-way at the middle school level. This is among the hardest data to understand because, as a reminder, half of the students in these bars do not have Spanish at home. So it's difficult to draw comparisons between, for example, the Spanish reading chart and the English reading chart. But we do have the most equitable data in the district here. And when you look at this and look at how our students were doing in middle school, I think it is safe to say that when you have a system that works, it works for all students. So we don't need to be concerned that if we make changes to our system, it won't be good for the kids that are already doing well. It can be very good for everybody. We've got 6-8 reading in Spanish. These are students who are multilingual learners. Once they have passed the access test, they are no longer a part of this cohort. So this data is also a little bit hard to understand over time because it may not be the same students as they phase out of the program. Right? Yeah. So we'd like to double check with AJ, so I'm not making things up out of whole cloth. This is the Spanish reading percentile groups district-wide. I always feel like the 8th grade Spanish reading test data, it can be misleading because these students take so very many tests all at the same time because they also have to sit for the access test. So they may very well be over-tested by the spring of 8th grade. They're also taking 3 MAP tests 3 times a year instead of 2 MAP tests 3 times a year. So important to keep an eye on it, but also important to understand in context. In math, we have a lot of good news as well. Sarah, do you want to join me as we talk about how we're doing in math at the elementary level? Where would you like to start?
Right here. Okay, so I have been with this district for 4 years now. And as you can see, the trend is that we are improving the spring of 26. Again, our red is at 33%, which is a good trend to see that is now happening from that direction. How do I flip slide?
You can just do this if you like,
Oh,
and then click on it. Or you can use the down arrow.
Oh, nice. All right, and so, oh, more water. And so, again, like in slide, at the very beginning, slide 10 and 11, it was the black and orange slide. Generally, what we normally are seeing for 5th grade is at 5th grade, we're seeing this huge dip that happened. And this is the first year actually that 5th grade was doing very, very well going into 6th grade. So that is also something I haven't seen in the 4 years that I've been here is that 5th grade's ready to rock it, leaving 5th grade. 4th grade was an area though that we noticed. 4th grade across the board, I believe 5 of the schools slid backwards. So our incoming 5th grade students is going to be an area where we really need to target and drill down and see what was happening with that and how we can intervene. A couple different things that are changing with math is that we will have 5 of our schools piloting IXL, which is another digital program. Right now everybody's on Success Maker, which is a tier 2. IXL will be a tier 1 support. So we're going to compare those throughout the year and see which one is not only better for our students, but what kind of growth that we can see that is happening from that, user friendliness for the teachers and report pulling and understanding of the reports, different factors like that. We also have about 40 teachers that are going to be previewing our Envision curriculum, the Plus version. And they are going to be putting that into effect a year ahead of time before we do our upgrade to that. And that is going to incorporate building thinking classrooms, a lot more math games with intention, and a condensed version of the topics. So that for fifth grade, for instance, would go to 16 topics to 12 topics. So they've done like a really big condensed version of that without sacrificing standards and those things as well. Any questions about math? Yes, I see a question.
No, my brain was processing something you said like 33 minutes earlier.
Oh.
IXL, is it just the math
Just math.
portion that we're gonna be using?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We also have data from our middle school math students who took the test. It's very exciting as well. As you can see, we are moving in the right direction. All of our students, this is a much more balanced chart than we've had in very recent years. And I like to always mention this every time we get a chance. This is the way that our students are performing by grade level. So we have far more students in 7th grade and even in 6th grade that are taking algebra now. And we love to see the yellow because that means that we are identifying more students who can find success. We used to have, especially 7th grade and 6th grade, it was just all blue. And so we knew there were students out there who could be in the green, who were sitting in a classroom that wasn't algebra. And now we're able to provide the algebra instruction and the students are doing well who are in these classes, which is great. And we have full classes of 6th grade students taking 7th grade advanced math, which means they'll have algebra as 7th grade students and calculus as juniors, which is outstanding. And those students are obviously doing very well also. So very, very exciting. That placement process has changed over the last couple of years to great success. So that's something to definitely highlight, though we still need to make sure that we are very focused on the opportunity gaps that exist between our student groups, as you can see. And then the last slide is just highlighting once again, when the Illinois report card comes out and has the IAR data on it, it does not report how we're doing on MAP. It reports how we're doing on IAR. And those black bars are where the IAR proficiency level is compared to how the math percentile groups fall. So just keep that in mind when you see them. It's a different number because it's a different test, and we know that we have continued work to do. We had hoped to have ACT data for you. In case you don't closely follow assessment news statewide, the ACT scores came out and then ACT retracted them and said, actually, we have to take another look at those. Scores may go up, they will not go down, but we cannot report them as they are likely to change. So we like to have them for you at this time of year and we can't, and I apologize for that. That's it, so last slide.
Yep. Just a reminder that next year, these 48 slides will be truncated. No, that's not a dig, I promise you. Because they're gonna be specifically tied to the goals, which will have very specific strategies. So when we come up here, we'll be having conversations about how we're monitoring the strategies, okay?
I appreciate all the work you put into the report. I mean, I know it's laborious to go through all this, but like, this is like why we're here.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very important that we look at it and we understand it and we share it with the public so people can see. And, you know, with regard to the algebra students, like just briefly, like they were like 100% last year. And so I'm really happy to see that like you're identifying other kids that can get into this class and achieve at this level, and you're helping them raise their ceiling. You know, so it's good to see that number not all blue, as you mentioned. And
So what we found is when you increase access, it is improving opportunities for students, and students rise to the occasion when you increase access.
I think that's great, so I wanted to say
Thank you.
so.
Yeah, it's like reverse gatekeeping, right? Let's bring everybody in and make sure that anybody who has the opportunity to be successful takes that chance. So
Exactly.
it's putting them on a trajectory to experience a more higher level math when they're at the high school, so.
I just want to add too that we have a good number of kids taking honors
You
geometry.
need to stand over there.
I should have my mouth shut, but I was excited about it.
You're gonna talk about our kids that we're busing to the high school?
Yeah, so actually next year, we have so many kids that are gonna be taking honors geometry at the middle school level that we are no longer gonna be able to bus them. We're actually offering it at the middle school. We do have secondary certified math teachers at both middle schools, so we will have about 60 students taking honors geometry next year in middle school, and then over 110 taking algebra in middle school. And they'll be able to earn high school credit.
And the ones that are taking honors geometry this year at the high school are doing very well.
Yes.
We've been checking on them too.
Real quick, you mentioned about the ACT scores, they're gonna come back with new ones that are gonna be better. That's good news. I mean, why did they have to retract it? You said, or have to take it back, you mentioned.
The verb they're using, I think, is recalibrate. And
Recalibrate.
I don't know. And I believe the reason that the scores may go up but won't go down is because you can't tell a child that this was their score. Just kidding, you have a lower score.
Right.
You may have already used that for scholarships, or I
Sure.
imagine there's some liability there on their part.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay. The fact they're coming in better, I'm happy to hear about that.
Yeah,
Possibly, so.
accurate is always what we prefer in the number world, but yes, it's better than they're gonna come back worse.
I think it's a great time to get to old business. Thank you, guys. All right, moving on. Item A, resolution authorizing purchase of real property, 530 Charter Street, DeKalb, Illinois. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the attached resolution. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Shauna, roll call.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
Jose Jarquez.
Yes.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes.
Mark Sherbat.
Yes.
Kristen Bailey.
Yes.
Nick Atwood.
Yes.
Item B, fiscal year 2027 consolidated district plan. Is recommended the Board of Education approve the consolidated district plan. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Shauna, roll call.
Jose Jarquez.
Yes.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes.
Mark Sherbat.
Yes.
Kristen Bailey.
Yes.
Nick Atwood.
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
Item C, Space Academy for Educators amended. Is recommended the Board of Education approve for 2 teachers to attend the Space Academy for Educators Expedition 40. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Shauna, roll call.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes.
Mark Sherbat.
Yes.
Kristen Bailey.
Yes.
Nick Atwood.
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
Jose Jarquez.
Yes.
Item D, differential committee request for approval. Is recommended the Board of Education approve the differential committee request as attached. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Shauna, roll call.
Mark Sherbat.
Yes.
Kristen Bailey.
Yes.
Nick Atwood.
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
Jose Jarquez.
Yes.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes. Now we're into new business. The first item is item A, National Association of School Nurses Conference. This is June 29th through July 2nd, 2026. This is information and action.
Good evening. I have the distinct pleasure to introduce Kristen and Jenny, 2 of our school nurses that are going to talk to you about this opportunity to go to the National Association of School Nurses Conference. This is coming to you as information and action just because the conference is just a short time away. So in order to be able to get our travel and all that squared away, we're asking for a decision tonight.
So last year, we had the opportunity to go to Austin, Texas, to the National Association Conference. And within that, it was like, what, 4 days-ish? We got to attend many different presentations, really focusing on like, how can we help impact attendance and make attendance better in our schools? Really diving and digging into like our chronic health conditions and how can we help support our kiddos with diabetes, seizures, asthma, things like that, as well as a lot of our mental health conditions that are becoming more and more apparent in our society today. So it's really beneficial for us to go listen to all these fantastic speakers. A lot of doctors came within their specialties and talked to us about upcoming medications and things like that that are coming down the pipeline, as well as networking with nurses throughout the country, and then actually getting to do a lot of networking with just our Illinois Association of School Nurses, and doing a lot of different events and just participating in all these different presentations. So Jenny and I are very excited. We're hoping that you guys will allow us the opportunity to go back again this year to see what the new agenda is going to be, what they're going to focus on this year. And how can we bring that information back to continue to better the health of our students so that they are in school, learning more often, help improve those attendance rates, and just really help, a lot of times the kids will come in and they'll be like, doctor, because I think we may be the only health that they actually see. And so how can we help them get to the right resources
you
As
know,
well as help their parents get to the
as
right resources.
well as
We-
help their
we do
parents
that
too.
quite often too.
So we're just looking to see if you guys will allow us the opportunity to go to the convention this summer.
My grants paid for this.
Oh, would you say there was a grant paying for it?
A grant's paying
There's a
for it.
grant paying for it.
All right then. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the request to attend this conference. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Shauna, roll call.
Kristen Bailey,
Yes.
Nick Atwood,
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
Jose Jaquez,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes.
Mark Charbat.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
so much.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Item B, Project Search Conference 2026, also information and action.
All right, so I'm gonna present this one. Project Search has been a staple of our district now for, getting close to a decade. And it's a program that, when we first brought that into the district, we had a lot of staff that would go to the annual conference. Not only our staff, but our partnering, partners in RAMP, Northwestern Medicine, would send staff there as well. Because of COVID and things, we kind of got away from going to the conference, but it is in St. Louis this coming year. And so we would like to send 2 members of our Project Search Steering Committee to the conference. What this will allow us to do is to, similar to our school nurses conference, allow us to network with other Project Search on-site teams and administrators to learn how they have been able to keep their programs sustainable over the last couple of years and look at other ways to expand it in other businesses. So we have 2 staff members that would like to go. Funding this trip would be the teacher vacancy grant. It is in St. Louis and they would choose to drive down there. And so in total, we'd be looking at expenses around $3,500. Any questions? Sorry, info action again because of the turnaround.
Hearing no questions, do we have a motion to approve Project Search Conference?
So moved.
Second.
Shauna, roll call.
Kristen Bailey,
Yes.
Nick Atwood,
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
Jose Jaquez,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce,
Yes.
Mark Charbat.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item C, renewal of world language resources. This is presented to us by Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Rouse.
I don't know which side he was on. So Phil's gonna do most of the talking, but we are looking to renew our world language resources, for Spanish level 1 through 3, 4?
Spanish 1 through 3 and French 1 through 4.
And French 1 through 4. And so Phil's gonna tell you why we wanna renew what we have, and then I'll tell you how much it's gonna cost.
Okay, yeah. Hi, I'm Phil Rouse. I've been an educator here for 24 years. Happy homeowner here for the last 19 years. So I'm a taxpayer as well, so I appreciate what you're doing. Hopefully you appreciate what we do in the classrooms. I think I'm the first teacher here tonight to speak. So I have exciting news about our department. We just found out this year, but for the last 7 years, we've been doing biliteracy seal tests. I know it hasn't been shared as much, but we've been owning national standards. We've been surpassing them in every level, whether it's students who are Hispanic and are native speakers or speaking Arabic or whatever language they speak at home. If they are born with that language, they're speaking that. Our dual language learners will be getting up there soon. Are the ones through the, so they're there. But what we're even more proud of is the kids who just started high school and take Spanish 1 through 4 are also all of those different subcategories of students in all areas, whether it be speaking, reading, writing, or listening, are killing all national standards. So we're beating them over and over again. Now, we're excited because we just found out about it, okay? We've been owning for 6 years. We just didn't know that we've been kicking butt for 6 years. And this year, we just did it again. We just got done in spring, and we beat them again. And so what I'm asking you to do is to allow us to continue to do the work that we are doing with the textbook series that we are using. The series that we're using is called Carnegie Learning. The great thing about this series is that it has been adapting as national standards have been adapting and been moving. AP exams have changed. There's more of a spoken component now. It's now an individual component where students actually have to listen to their own individual prompt, where it used to be just hit play a CD or hit in the whole room, heard the same prompt and do it. So that's going to change things for teachers. That means there's going to have to be a much more, a different breadth of information that has to be covered culturally, because it's not just going to be one area that you can prepare for. So having said that, our Spanish 1 through 3 program, we've chosen Carnegie Learning for that platform because, again, it's helping us do that, what we want, what our goal is to get those students. And if you don't know what biliteracy seal means, a biliteracy seal, it says that a student is biliterate in both languages, and they end up getting 12 credits, 12 college credits. Listen to that, that's about 10 grand.
12 college credits for our students when they leave DeKalb High School to go on, and they get a nice little seal on their diploma. It's a beautiful thing. We love the program that we're running. We like the program that we have. We don't have any issues with support from them. They have their own learning program, their own learning format and learning program, so we don't need to use Canvas. We can, which we do, but we don't need it, okay? Because we're already paying for it through this book service. They already have their own program. And so the things that we need, they're already adding to it. And the fact that they've added a passport program that allows our kids to go visit different places in the world that we can't take them, to see other cultural opportunities that I couldn't possibly cover in a class period, that they can do that outside of class if they have an interest, and they want to visit Peru, they want to go see what different games might be being played, whether there's a version of Quidditch that kids play on horseback in Argentina, and the kids are like, oh God, that's like Harry Potter, and I was like, kinda, on horseback, and you might die, but anyway, point is that they have that opportunity, and they're getting excited, they're doing these great things. And so all I'm asking you to do is to allow our program to continue to keep using that format, because students like it, the achievement is there, you're getting the results that you want. I'll be coming back next year, probably, hopefully, to talk to you about our Spanish 4, our AP Spanish program, as well as our Spanish speakers, native Spanish speakers program. I can already see Jose has a reason why aren't we choosing that program for Spanish 4 and Spanish 5 AP, Carnegie. The reason we don't use that for Spanish 4 and Spanish 5, because we found that there's another book series that our teachers really like. Vista is the name of that program, and I'll be coming back to talk to you about that next year. Unfortunately, book series now you don't get to buy a book for a decade and keep it. If you did all just physical textbooks, you would. But book companies figured out, hey, here's a better scam for you. I got a book series that I'm gonna sell you for 6 years, no matter when you buy it, we're only gonna support it for 7. So we're at the end of that support line. We can't keep the book that we currently have now, so if we don't get this, we're gonna have to get a different series. I'll be back to you in a month with another quote that probably won't be as good, because we're getting a discount because we worked them before, and because they don't really like hearing from me too often. So, I mean, it is what it is. I try to work for our community because it's my money coming out of my pocket too that's paying for these books. So I understand that, I appreciate that, but I also know what the kids are getting from it, and our students love it. I haven't had any complaints. We are asking for some physical book copies. I know that looks weird in the digital world, but I'm still a big believer in paper and pencil connect the brain. I'm still a big believer that you should give kids an option whether they want a textbook or they want the screen. And a kid should have that option every day, whether they want the textbook or they want the screen. So the textbook would be a class book series in the classroom. It wouldn't leave the classroom, it would stay there. The only physical textbooks I'm asking you for are the classroom that those would be taught in, and they would stay in that room and they don't leave. We also have some IEP students, so where you'll see that it's a little bit more than 35 books we're asking for 40 per classroom set, because we do have IEP students and we do have 504 students that do request or ask for that additional textbook series to go home with them. So we do have to account for those as well. But we are very good stewards of our books. We haven't had to replace any of our last series. We haven't lost any books from our last series, which is an amazing accomplishment at the high school level, because something always gets gone. Something always disappears, okay? Whether it's on your desk or it's in the classroom. So I appreciate your time. I hope that you look at the budget and you'll see that it's not unfair, that it is commensurate with what other programs I looked at. I actually looked at 3 other book series. So we spent our year looking at 3 other book series, and we couldn't find one that did everything that ours did for the cost of what we're getting it for. So what we need, this is the best version that we can have. And the thing we love about Carnegie is that they're a pretty small company. So their only focus is on language. So that makes it a lot easier for us to work with them. And when we call and we say, hey, look, I can't get this kid on. He just came to class today. I can't add him. He's added by the end of the class period. I've never had to not reach out within a class period and be like, hey, we're here. This is tech. What do you need? And so I got 3 kids that I can't get in. Well, they should be able to. I said, well, they haven't had an email assigned with them. Okay, we'll give them a temporary one for now. So they're even beating our tech department getting a Google Gmail, and that's not on them. It's just saying that that's how quick the turnaround is with Carnegie's, because they're on it. Their people are just sitting there waiting for questions. So we feel like it's a good series. Any questions?
So I feel like I wish you get a little more excited about this, because it seems like you're just not, you don't have the buy-in on what we're doing here.
Phil's a great spokesperson. He has a lot of passion.
This is what I do. This is what I do. So
2 questions. One, you said 35 per classroom, and the first chart says 160.
Well, you're looking at 4 classroom sets. So there's 4 different classrooms that could be taught in. It could
In
be
Spanish
taught at
one.
that, yes, at that
Okay.
same hour or at that same time.
And-
So we're trying to cover those class sets, because I teach Spanish 1, but then Irma Rain teaches Spanish 1, Miriam Romero-Rios teaches 1, and there could be, and Brenda Orsucci teaches Spanish 1. So there's 4 different classrooms where that might be happening, so that we're not carting a set of books around to the classroom. It makes it a little bit more convenient for us.
And
Makes
for
a lot more sense,
Spanish
too.
1, you're also covering the 8th grade.
Right,
And 7th
we're
and 8th
also-
grade at the middle schools.
And they'll get those series as well, so.
And so,
We're trying to help you be compliant with the 28 or 27, 28 ruling, which is
would
49
you get
Chesapeake.
excited, please?
Yeah.
In the digital world,
Yeah.
one of the things you usually buy with the program is the consistent updates. But if we're having digital world and textbooks, so the only updates they're gonna get to like curriculum per se is every 6 years?
Not necessarily, the books themselves update, the online resources, hard for me to explain to you, the online resources don't match what the book is exactly.
Okay.
There's a textbook that is the online resource, there's a workbook that's an online resource, there's a list, like, if you were to look at Carnegie's format, if I was asked to do that, I'd put it up for you, but they have about 40 different resource parts that you could go and use. Then they have little mini readers that kids can use. Then they have, so it's a really progressive system where kids can kind of, you fit where you fit. If you're super advanced and you want to keep reading, you can do that. If you're a native speaker and you take Spanish 1, I don't know why, but you could, and you wouldn't find that you were bored. At least you'd have enough resources to keep you entertained.
They update things like videos or the speaking and listening portions, things like that, get updated frequently. I don't know if it's every year, but it's frequently.
It's not every year, but like we've already seen in the new series, we got new tests, different type of testing format. So it's really gonna be a cool thing. I'm excited about it. I just purchased quite a few headsets for my Spanish 3 program so they can start the practicing process, and we're gonna see what the new online speaking program is and the recording of that. And if it looks really great, then we might expand it to Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, but that would be something, I didn't want to spend that money right up front. I did want to use it because they're giving us as a new bell and whistle, so let's use it at least once. And then if that comes to, we have some headsets that we would get that would be perfect for it. But for right now, we're holding off on that until we see how Spanish 3 pilots it this year.
I just have a question as a mom. Do
Yes,
they
ma'am.
also cover like writing?
What's that?
Do they cover writing and language as well?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's always, every day is the 5 components. If you're a good language teacher, you're gonna cover 5. You're gonna cover reading, listening, reading, writing, and culture. Because that's how you're gonna learn language. And so you're not gonna ever get out of writing. Oh, no. It's still grammar, it's still kind of like what you remember, but it's just in a different way. There's just a lot more bells and whistles.
So, as Phil mentioned it, we're getting a huge discount. Sarah and I looked at both the 3-year and the 6-year quotes, and we were kind of astonished that I think there was $30,000 difference between the 3-year quote and the 6-year quote. So we were like, why wouldn't we get an additional 3 years for $30,000? So we are positioning the 6-year quote to you. It comes in at $154,535.70. That does cover 7th and 8th grade as well as pretty much all the way through junior year for Spanish, and then through senior year, it's all of French. And we do have the money in general district funds set aside for this, so that's where it would come from.
Just a weird question.
Yes, sir.
Why is shipping and handling $3,000?
Because those books are heavy. I did
Book
question
rate.
that. I did question that myself, and I was like, "That's an interesting choice." But they are heavy.
It's like buying a car. It's like buying a car. You get rust proofing, but you know.
Oh, I know. There's the add-ons.
It doesn't work in the Midwest.
All right, sounds like, do we have consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Item D is the DCTA program course approved salary schedule. And that's presented by Deetra for item D. And then I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick, keep running the meeting. Nick, it's yours.
All right.
Six bells in there.
Sorry, I think Phil got me riled up and I'm all out of sorts here. Yes, DCTA program and course approval for salary schedule, credit, and PRC committee minutes. So the PRC committee, which is part of the DCTA contract, and a committee of those folks and then myself met, and we reviewed submissions by DCTA members for coursework that they want to take. We've reviewed those. We did have a really robust discussion because there are some programs that our teachers have been pursuing that some states are no longer recognizing because those programs don't have a physical instructor. They are pass or fail only. They're only, they're self-paced and they're taking tests and they're getting grades. So we are working to establish some guidelines on what will and will not be accepted. So we had a really good meeting and we made some tough decisions that there are some programs that we're not gonna be able to continue to go forward with because ISB's not recognizing them as well as other states. So before you are the ones that the committee are recommending for approval.
Anyone have any questions about that? And I assume this is information, so we're looking for consensus to bring this back next meeting?
Correct.
Yes. Yes. All right, moving on, letter E, this is the DFSS letter of agreement for reclassification.
Yep, so we have a new DFSS contract. When we're sitting at that negotiating table, it sounds good. Like, it was like, we rock this. Until it's time to apply the language, and then we're like, so wait, what were we trying to accomplish? So in that language, we've discovered that we need to just clean it up a little bit about the process of how a maintenance employee can move from one level to the next level. So this is clarified language, a letter of agreement to support that.
All right, does anyone have any questions? Hearing no questions, we have consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
All right, item F, DFSS letter of agreement experience credit.
Very similar. It's a cleaning up of contract language. In the contract, it states that a new hire or someone who transfers can get credit for work experience. The language is a little vague, and then once we started applying it, as a group, both administration and the union leadership, we had to sit down and say, now, what did we agree here? What were we trying to say? And now we're clarifying the language so it expressly states exactly what our practice is.
Any questions? Hearing no questions, we have consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Item G, letter of agreement probationary employee evaluations.
Very similar. This is regarding the probationary evaluation for new employees and clarifying that they will be evaluated to make a decision on them completing their probationary period.
Any questions?
One real quick question.
Okay.
3 letters of agreement on the brand new contract, all hit on the 1-year mark. Is that normal with our contracts that, like, after we actually put the contracts into place, people figure out the verbiage might have been a little bit off?
It could be, yes. I mean, it's not saying we did anything wrong. It's not saying that now we're righting a wrong. Specifically with that language, we changed a lot in the DFSS contract because prior to this contract, we had, what were they called? Grades, labor grades. So the employees fell into these labor grades and their pay was this because you're in this labor grade and your pay is that because you're in this and that labor grade. Now our positions are individualized. So if you are a first shift custodian, your pay is this. If you're a second shift custodian, your pay is that. If you are a HVAC tech, your pay is this. So each one is individualized. Because we moved from the labor grades to the individual positions, that's why we need to clarify this language, because before it was more of as a group as a whole just moving, but now we have the individual positions.
Thank you.
So again, it's not abnormal, and it's just a clarification of language.
Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, we have consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Thank you, Deetra.
Yep.
Dr. Garcia Sanchez, do you have an update for us?
No update except as reminders, this is our last week of school. I know everyone is so sad about the fact that this is the last week of school. But I'm going to remind everyone, if you're coming back next school year, please remind your parents, your guardians to come and register you, because you want to make sure you get into the seats that you want to be in. So please get into the Ed Center or into your buildings and register. It's better to do it now than rather than later. And then, of course, I wanted to thank everybody for the wonderful work that they have done this year. It's very much appreciated. We've seen a tremendous growth that's been shown by our presentation this evening, and that's I appreciate everybody in the classroom, everybody that's working with children, everybody at the building level, everybody at the Ed Center who makes sure that they are resources to all of our administrators and our teachers in our building. So thank you so much. And then I'm gonna say, have a wonderful summer. Rest, relax, rejuvenate, because guess what? You come back in August. So we wanna make sure that you're ready to rock and roll that when you come back. Thank you so very much and have a safe summer. Make sure you read, and we'll see you back in August. Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Good. Don't forget to show up to graduation this Saturday, everyone.
Thank you.
All in favor, aye? Aye.